few technical difficulties with trying to get Wonder up, so I'm going to try a different way. See how long this one lasts. So we are now in Justin's point of view, which is Via's friend from school that she brought over to introduce to August. The first time I met Olivia's little brother, I have to admit I was totally taken by surprise. I shouldn't be, of course. Olivia told me all about his syndrome and even described what he looks like. But she's also talked about all his surgeries over the years, so I guess I kind of assumed he'd be more normal looking by now. Like when a kid is born with a cleft lip and has plastic surgery to fix it, sometimes you can't even tell except for the little scar above the lip. I guess I thought her brother would have some scars here and there, but not like this. I definitely wasn't expecting to see this little kid in a baseball cap who's sitting in front of me right now. Actually, there are two kids sitting in front of me. One who is totally normal looking, named Jack, and the other is Augie. I like to think I'm able to hide my surprise. I hope I do. Surprise is one of those emotions that can be hard to fake, though. Whether you're trying to look surprised when you're not, or trying not to look surprised when you are. I shook his hand. I shook the other kid's hand. I don't focus on his face. Cool room, I said. Are you Via's boyfriend? Augie asked, smiling. Olivia pushes down his baseball cap. Is that a machine gun? The other kid asked. Like I hadn't heard that one before. And we talk about Zydeco music for a little bit, and then Via's taking my hand and leading me out of the room. As soon as we close the door behind us, we hear laughing. I'm from Brooklyn, one of them said. Olivia rolls her eyes and smiles. Let's go hang out in my room, she said. We'd been dating for 2 months. I knew from the moment I saw her, the moment she sat down at our table in the cafeteria, that I liked her. Okay, this chapter's gonna be boring. I think she kind of gives off a vibe without even meaning to. Stay back, don't bother. She doesn't talk like some of the other girls do. She looks you right in the eye when she talks to you, like she's daring you to answer. So I just kept looking her right in the eye too, like I was daring her right back. And then I asked her out and she said yes. She's an awesome girl and I love hanging out with her. She didn't tell me about August until a couple weeks later. I think she used the phrase craniofacial abnormality to describe his face, or maybe it was craniofacial anomaly. I know the one word she didn't use was deformed, because that word would have registered with me. So, what did you think? She asked me nervously. Are you shocked? No, I lie. She smiles and looks away. You're shocked. I'm not, I assure her. He's just like you said he'd be. She nods and plops down on her bed. Kinda cute how she still has all the stuffed animals there. She takes the polar bear without thinking and puts it on her lap. I sit down in her desk chair. Her room is pristine. When I was little, she says, there were lots of kids who never came back for another play date. I mean, lots of kids. I even had friends who wouldn't come to my birthdays because he would be there. They never actually told me, but it would get back to you. Some people just don't know how to deal with Augie, you know? I nod. It's not even like they know they're being mean, she adds. They're just scared. I mean, let's face it, his face is a little scary, right? I guess, I answer. But you're okay with it, she asks sweetly. You're not too freaked out or scared? I'm not freaked out or scared, I tell her. Let's see. We're doing the play Our Town for the spring show this year. Olivia dared me to try out for the lead role, the stage manager, and somehow I got it. Total fluke. Never got any lead roles in anything before. I tell Olivia she brings me good luck. Unfortunately, she doesn't get the female lead. The pink-haired girl named Miranda gets it. Olivia gets a little part and is also the Emily understudy. I'm actually more disappointed than Olivia is. She almost seems relieved. I don't love people staring at me, she says, which is sort of strange coming from such a pretty girl, I thought. A part of me thinks maybe she blew her audition on purpose. The spring show is at the end of April. It's mid-March now, so that's less than 6 weeks to memorize my part, plus rehearsal time, plus practicing with my band, plus finals, plus spending time with Olivia. It's going to be a rough 6 weeks, that's for sure. Mr. Davenport, the drama teacher, is already manic about the whole thing. It will drive us crazy by the time it's over, no doubt. I heard through the grapevine that he'd been planning on doing the Elephant Man, but changed it to our town at the last minute, and that change took a week off of our rehearsal schedule. Not looking forward to the craziness of the next month and a half. We almost done with this one. Okay, there's not much more of his left. Olivia and I are sitting on her front step. She's helping me with my lines. It's a warm March evening, almost like summer. The sky is still bright cyan, but the sun is low, and the sidewalks are streaked with long shadows. I'm reciting. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before had begun talking regular sentences already, and a number of people who thought they were right, young and spry, have noticed that they haven't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their hearts fluttering a little. I shake my head. I can't remember the rest. All that can happen in 1,000 days, Olivia prompts me. Oh, right, I say, shaking my head. How am I going to remember all these lines? I asked. You will, she answers confidently. She reaches out and cups her hands over a ladybug that appears out of nowhere. See? A good luck sign, she says, slowly lifting her top hand to reveal the ladybug. Good luck or just hot weather, I said. Good luck, she answers, watching the ladybug crawl up her wrist. There should be a thing about making a wish on a ladybug. Augie and I used to do that with fireflies when we were little. She cupped her hand over the ladybug again. Come on, make a wish, I said. I dutifully closed my eyes, and a long second passed. Did you make a wish? She asked. Yeah. She smiles and uncups her hand, and the ladybug, as if on cue, spreads its wings and flits away. Don't you want to know what I wished for? I ask. No, she answers, looking up at the sky. I made a wish too, she says mysteriously. But she has so many things she could wish for, I have no idea what she's thinking. Olivia's mom, Augie, Jack, and Daisy came down the stoop just as I was saying goodbye to Olivia, slightly awkward since we were in the middle of saying goodbye. Hey guys, says the mom, pretending not to see anything. But the two boys are giggling. Hi, Mrs. Pullman. Please call me Isabel, Justin, she says again. It's like the third time she's told me this, so I really need to start calling her that. I'm heading home, I say as if to explain. Oh, are you heading to the subway? She says, following the dog with the newspaper. Can you walk Jack to the bus stop? Yeah, no problem, I said. Is that okay with you, Jack? August's mom asked him, and he shrugged. Justin, can you stay with him till the bus comes? Yeah, of course, I said. We all said our goodbyes, and Olivia winked at me. You don't have to stay with me, said Jack as we were walking away. I take the bus by myself all the time. Augie's mom is way too overprotective. He's got a low, gravelly voice, like a little tough guy. He kind of looks like one of those little rascal kids in the old black and white movies, like he should be wearing a newsboy cap. We get to the bus stop, and the schedule says the bus will be there in 8 minutes. I'll just wait with you, I tell him. Up to you, said Jack, shrugging. Can I borrow $1? I want some gum. I fish $1 out of my pocket, and I watch him cross the street to the grocery store on the corner. He seems too small to be walking around by himself somehow. Then I think how I was that young when I was taking the subway by myself. Way too young. I'm going to be an overprotective dad someday. I know it. My kids are going to know that I care. I'm waiting there a minute or two when I notice 3 kids walking up the block from the other direction. They walk right past the grocery store, but one of them looked inside and nudges the other 2, and they all back up and look inside. I can tell they're up to no good, all elbowing each other laughing. One of them is Jack's height, but the other 2 look much bigger, more like teenagers. They hide behind the fruit stand in front of the store, and when Jack walks out, they trail behind him, making loud noises. Jack casually turns around at the corner to see who they are, and they run away, high-fiving each other and laughing. Jack crosses the street like nothing happened and stands next to me at the bus stop, blowing a bubble. Friends of yours? I finally asked. Ha, he says. He's trying to smile, but I can tell he's upset. Just some really annoying kids from my school, he says. A kid named Julian, and 2 of his gorillas, Henry and Miles. Do they bother you a lot like that? I asked. No, they've never done that before. They'd never do that in school, or they'd get kicked out. Julian doesn't even live around here, so I guess it was just bad luck running into him. Oh, okay, I nod. It's not a big deal, he assures me. We both automatically look down Amesfort Avenue to see if the bus is coming. We're sort of in a war, Jack said after a minute, as if that explained everything. Then he pulls out the crumpled piece of loose-leaf paper from his jeans pocket and gives it to me. I unfold it, and it's a list of names in 3 columns. He's turned the whole grade against me, says Jack. Well, not the whole grade, I point out, looking down at the list. He leaves me a note in my locker that says stuff like, "Everybody hates you." Well, you should tell your teacher about that, I said. Jack looks at me like I'm an idiot and shakes his head. Anyway, you have all these neutrals, I say, pointing to the list. If you get them on your side, things will even up a bit. Yeah, well, that's really not going to happen, he said sarcastically. Why not? I asked. He shoots me another look like I'm absolutely the dumbest guy he's ever talked to in the world. What? I ask. He shakes his head like I'm hopeless. Let's just say, he says, I'm friends with someone who isn't exactly the most popular kid in school. Then it hits me. Oh my gosh, let me just start that sentence over. Then it hits me. What he's not coming out and saying is August. This is all about being friends with August. He doesn't want to tell me because I'm his sister's boyfriend. We see the bus coming from Ainsford Avenue. Well, just hang in there, I tell him, handing him back the paper. Middle school is about as bad as it gets, and then it gets better. Everything will work out. He shrugs and shoves the list back into his pocket. We wave goodbye when he gets on the bus, and I watch it pull away. When I get to the subway station 2 blocks away, I see the same 3 kids hanging out in front of the bagel place next door. They're still laughing and making noises at each other, like there's some kind of little gangs. Little rich boys in expensive skinny jeans acting tough. I don't know what possesses me, but I take my glasses off, put them in my pocket, and tuck my fiddle case under my arm so the pointy side is facing up. I walk over to them, my face scrunched up, mean-looking. They look at me, their laughs dying on their lips. Ice cream cones held at odd angles. Yo, listen up, I said. Don't mess with Jack. I made my voice really deep, acting like a tough guy. And then I tapped my fiddle case. Got it? They nod in unison, ice cream dripping into their hands. Good. I nod mysteriously and then sprint down the subway 2 steps at a time. The play is taking up most of the time as we get closer to opening night. Lots of lines to remember, long monologues where it's just me talking. Olivia had this great idea, though, and it's helping. I have my fiddle with me on stage and play it a bit while I'm talking. It's not written that way, but Mr. Davenport thinks it adds an extra folksy element to the stage manager plucking on a fiddle. And for me, it's so great because whenever I need a second to remember my next line, I can just start playing it a little bit. I've gotten to know the kids in the show a lot better, especially that pink-haired girl who plays Emily. Turns out she's not nearly as stuck-up as I thought she was, given the crowd she hangs out with. I'm kind of surprised that this Miranda girl turns out to be kind of nice. One day we're sitting on the floor backstage waiting for the tech guys to fix the main spotlight. So how long have you known Olivia? She asks. About 4 months now, I say. Have you met her brother? She asks casually. It's so unexpected that I can't hide my surprise. You know Olivia's brother? I ask. Via didn't tell you? We used to be good friends, said Miranda. I've known Augie since he was a baby. Oh yeah, I think I knew that, I answer. I don't want to let on that Olivia had not told me. I don't want to let on how surprised I am that she called her Via. Nobody but Olivia's family calls her that. And here this pink-haired girl who thought I was a stranger is calling her Via. Miranda laughs and shakes her head, but she doesn't say anything. There's an awkward silence, and when she starts fishing through her bag, she pulls out her wallet. She rifles through a couple pictures, then hands one to me. It's of a little boy in a park on a sunny day. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt and an astronaut helmet that covers his entire head. It was like 100 degrees that day, Miranda said, smiling at the picture. But he wouldn't take that helmet off for anything. He wore it for 2 years straight. In the winter, in the summer, at the beach. It was crazy. Yeah, I've seen pictures like that in Olivia's house, I say. Well, I'm the one that gave him that helmet, she says. She sounds proud of it. She takes the picture and carefully puts it back in her wallet. Cool, I answer. So you're okay with it, she says, looking at me. I look at her blankly. Okay with what? She raises her eyebrows like she doesn't believe me. You know what I'm talking about, she says, and takes a long drink from her water bottle. Let's face it, she continues. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. Why didn't you tell me that you and Miranda used to be friends? I ask Olivia the next day. It's not a big deal, she answers defensively. It is a big deal, I say. I look kind of dumb. When she asked if I knew you, how could you not tell me? You've always acted like you don't even know her. I don't know her, she answers quickly. I don't know who that pink-haired cheerleader is. The girl I knew was not like that. Oh, come on, Olivia. You come on, she said. Well, you could have mentioned it to me at some point, I said quietly, pretending not to notice. And then I pretended not to notice the big tear that suddenly ran down her cheek. She shrugs, fighting back more tears. It's okay, I'm not mad, I say. I honestly don't care if you're mad, she said spitefully. Oh, that's real nice, I fire back. She doesn't say anything. Olivia, what's the matter? I ask. She shakes her head like she doesn't want to talk about it, but all of a sudden the tears started rolling a mile a minute. I'm sorry, it's not you, Justin. I'm not crying because of you, she finally says. Then why are you crying? Because I'm an awful person, she said. What are you talking about? I ask her. She's not looking at me, wiping her tears with the palm of her hand. I haven't told my parents about the show, she says quickly. I shake my head because I don't quite get what she's telling me. That's okay, I say. It's not too late. There's still tickets available. I don't want them to come to the show, Justin, she interrupts impatiently. Don't you see what I'm saying? I don't want them to come. If they come, then they'll bring Augie with them, and I just don't feel like... Here she sit by another round of crying that doesn't let her finish talking. I'm an awful person, she says through her tears. You're not an awful person, I tell her. Yes, I am, she sobs. It's just been so nice being in a new school where nobody knows about him, you know. Nobody's whispering about it behind my back. It's just been so nice. But if he comes to the play, then everyone will talk about it. Everyone will know. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I swear I've never been embarrassed by my brother before. I know, I say, soothing her. You're entitled, Olivia. You've dealt with a lot your whole life. Olivia reminds me of a bird sometimes, how her feathers get all ruffled when she's mad. And when she's fragile like this, she's a lost little bird looking for its nest. So I give her my wing to hide under. I can't sleep that night. My head is full of thoughts that won't turn off. Lines from the play, elements of the periodic table that I'm supposed to be memorizing, theorems I'm supposed to be understanding, Olivia and August. Miranda's words keep coming back to me. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. I'm thinking about that a lot and everything it means. She's right about it. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. What did that little kid ever do to deserve his sentence? What did the parents do? Or Olivia? She once mentioned that some doctor told her parents that the odds of someone getting the same combination of syndromes that came together to make August's face were 1 in 4 million. So doesn't that make the universe a giant lottery then? You purchase a ticket when you're born, and it's all just random whether you get a good ticket or a bad ticket. It's all just luck. Which we obviously know is not true. My head swirls on this, but then softer thoughts soothe, like a flatter third on a major chord. No, it's not all random. If it really was random, the universe would abandon us completely, and the universe doesn't. It takes care of its most fragile creatures in ways we can't see, like with parents who adore you blindly, and a big sister who feels guilty for being human over you, and a little gravelly-voiced kid whose friends have left him over you, and even a pink-haired girl who carries your picture in her wallet. Maybe it's a lottery, but the universe makes it all even out in the end. The universe takes care of its birds. Basically, another way of saying God takes care of his creation, right? Let me look at this next little section here. It's pretty long. All right, it's back to August. I'll read for a few more minutes. The Spud lamp, so remember he and Jack are working on that science project. The Spud lamp was a big hit at the science fair. Jack and I got an A for it. It was the first time Jack had gotten an A in that class all year, so he was psyched. All the science fair projects were set up on the tables in the gym. It was the same setup as the Egyptian Museum back in December, except this time there were volcanoes and molecule dioramas on the tables instead of pyramids and pharaohs. And instead of the kids taking our parents around to look at everybody else's artifact, we had to stand at our tables while our parents wandered around the room and came over to us one by one. Here's the math on that one. 60 kids in the grade equals 60 sets of parents and doesn't even include grandparents. So that's a minimum of 120 pairs of eyes that find their way over to me. Eyes that aren't used to me as their kids' eyes are by now. It's like how compass needles always point north, no matter which way you're facing. All those eyes are compasses, and I'm like the North Pole to them. That's why I still don't like school events that include parents. I don't dislike them as much as I did at the beginning of the school year, like the Thanksgiving Sharing Festival. That was the worst one, I think. That was the first time I had to face the parents all at once. The Egyptian Museum came after that, but that one was okay because I got to dress up as a mummy and nobody noticed me. Then came the winter concert, which I didn't like because I had to sing. Not only can I not sing, but I felt like I was on display. The New Year art show wasn't quite as bad, but it was still annoying. They put up your artwork in the hallways all over the school and had the parents come and check it out. It was like starting school all over again, having unsuspecting adults pass me on the stairway. Anyway, it's not that I care about how people react to me. Like I've said a gazillion times, I'm used to that by now. I don't let it bother me. It's like when you go outside and it's drizzling a little bit. You don't put on boots for a drizzle. You don't even open your umbrella. You walk through it and barely notice your hair getting wet. But when it's a huge gym full of parents, the drizzle becomes like a total hurricane. Everyone's eyes hit you like a wall of water. Mom and Dad hang around my table a lot, along with Jack's parents. It's kind of funny how parents actually end up forming the same little groups their kids form. Like my parents and Jack's and Summer's mom all like and get along with each other. And then I see Julian's parents hanging out with Henry's and Miles. And even the two Max's parents hang out together. It's really funny. I told Mom and Dad about it later when we were walking home, and they thought it was a funny observation. I guess it's true that like seeds like, said Mom. For a while, the war was all we talked about. February was when it was really at its worst. That's when practically nobody was talking to us, and Julian had started leaving notes in our lockers. The notes to Jack were dumb, like, "You stink, Big Cheese," and "Nobody likes you anymore." I got notes like "Freak" and another "Get out of our school, orc." So not nice at all. If you ever did that, you would be in super big trouble. Summer thought we should report the notes to Ms. Rubin, who was the middle school dean, or even Mr. Tushman, but we thought that would be like snitching. Anyway, it's not like we didn't leave notes too, though ours weren't mean. They were kind of funny or sarcastic. Hello, Maggie. Sorry. She's going to attack my hand here. I'm sorry. Okay, I lost my spot. There were also a couple times in February when Julian, Miles, and Henry played tricks on Jack. They didn't play tricks on me, I think, because they knew that if they got caught bullying me, it would be a big-time trouble for them. Jack, they figured, was an easier target. So one time they stole his gym shoes out of his locker and played monkey in the middle with him. Another time, Miles, who sat next to Jack in homeroom, swiped Jack's worksheet off his desk, crumpled it in a ball, and tossed it to Julian across the room. This wouldn't have happened if Miss Petosa had been there, of course, but there was a substitute teacher that day, and subs never really know what's going on. Not necessarily true. Jack was good about this stuff. He never let them see that he was upset, though I think sometimes he was. The other kids in the grade knew about the war, except for Savannah's group. The girls were neutral at first, but by March they were getting sick of it, and so were some of the boys. Like another time when Julian was dumping some pencil sharpener shavings into Jack's backpack, Amos, who was usually really good friends with Julian, grabbed the backpack out of his hands and returned it to Jack. It was starting to feel like the majority of the boys weren't buying into Julian anymore. Then a few weeks ago, Julian started spreading a ridiculous rumor that Jack had hired some hitman to get him and Henry and Miles. This lie was so pathetic that people actually started laughing about it. At that point, any boys who had still been on his side now jumped ship and were clearly neutral. So by the end of March, only Miles and Henry were still on Julian's side, and I think even they were getting tired of the war by then. I'm pretty sure everyone stopped playing the play game behind my back too. No one really cringes if I bump into him anymore, and people borrow my pencils without acting like the pencil has cooties. People even joke around with me now sometimes. Like the other day, I saw Maya writing a note to Ellie on a piece of stationery, and I don't know why, but I just kind of randomly said, "Did you know the guy that created ugly dolls based them on me?" Maya looked at me with her eyes wide open, like she totally believed me, and then when she realized I was kidding, she thought it was the funniest thing in the world. "You're so funny, August," she said, and then she told Ellie and some of the other girls what I'd said, and they all thought it was funny too. Like at first they were shocked, but then when they saw I was laughing about it, they knew it was okay to laugh too. And the next day I found a little ugly doll keychain sitting on my chair with a nice little note from Maya that said, "For the nicest Augie doll in the world." 6 months ago, stuff like that would never have happened, but now it happens more and more. Also, people have been really nice about the hearing aids I had started to wear. Ever since I was little, the doctors told my parents that someday I would need hearing aids. I don't know why this always freaked me out. Maybe because anything to do with my ears bothered me a lot. My hearing was getting worse, but I had not told anyone about it. The ocean sound that was always in my head had been getting louder. It was drowning out people's voices, like I was underwater. I couldn't hear teachers if I sat in the back. But I knew if I told Mom or Dad about it, I'd end up with hearing aids, and I was hoping I could make it through the 5th grade without having that happen. But then in my annual checkup on October, I flunked the audiology test. And the doctor was like, "Dude, it's time." And he sent me to a special ear doctor who took impressions of my ears. Out of all my features, my ears are the ones I dislike the most. They're like tiny closed fists on the side of my face. They're too low on my head, too. They look like squashed pieces of pizza dough sticking out the top of my neck or something. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but I really don't like them. When the ear doctor first pulled the hearing aids out for me and Mom to look at, I groaned. "I'm not wearing that," I announced, folding my arms in front of me. "I know they probably look kind of big," said the ear doctor, "but we had to attach them to the headband because we had no other way of making them so they'd stay in your ears." See, normal hearing aids usually have a part that wraps around the outer ear to hold the inner bud in place. But in my case, I don't have outer ears. They had to put the earbuds on this heavy-duty headband that was supposed to wrap around the back of my head. "You'll hardly notice them," said Mom, trying to be cheerful. "They look like headphones." "Headphones? Look at them, Mom," I said angrily. "I'll look like Lobot." "Which one is Lobot?" asked Mom. "Lobot?" The ear doctor smiled as he looked at the headphones and made some adjustments. "The Empire Strikes Back? The bald guy with the cool bionic radio transmitter thing that wraps around the back of his head?" "I'm drawing a blank," said Mom. "You know Star Wars stuff?" I asked the doctor. "No Star Wars stuff," he answered, slipping the thing over my head. "I practically invented Star Wars stuff." He leaned back in his chair to see how the headband fit and then took it off again. "Now, Augie, I want to explain what all of this is," he said, pointing to the different parts of the hearing aids. "This curved piece of plastic over here connects to the tubing on the ear mold. That's why we took those impressions back in December, so that this part that goes inside your ear fits nice and snug. This part here is called the tone hook, and this thing is the special part that I've attached to the cradle." "You mean the Lobot part?" I asked miserably. "Hey, Lobot is cool," said the ear doctor. "It's not like we're saying you're going to look like Jar Jar, you know? That'd be bad." He slid the headphones on my head again carefully. "There you go. How's that?" "Totally uncomfortable," I said. "You'll get used to him quickly," he said. I looked in the mirror. My eyes started tearing up. All I saw were the tubes jutting out the side of my head, like antennas. "Do I really have to wear this, Mom?" I said, trying not to cry. "I don't like them. They won't make a difference." "Give it a second, buddy," said the doctor. "I haven't even tuned them on yet. Wait until you hear the difference. You'll want to wear them." "No, I won't," I argued. And then he turned them on. How can I describe what I heard when the doctor turned on my hearing aids? Or what I didn't hear? It's too hard to think of the words. The ocean sound just wasn't living in my head anymore. It was gone. I could hear sounds like shiny lights in my brain. It was like when you're in a room where one of the light bulbs on the ceiling isn't working, but you don't realize how dark it is until someone changes the light bulb, and then you're like, "Whoa, it's bright in here." I don't know if there's a word that means the same as bright in terms of hearing, but I wish I knew one, because my ears were hearing brightly now. "How does it sound, Augie?" asked the doctor. "Can you hear me okay?" I looked at him and smiled, but I didn't answer. "Do you hear anything different?" asked Mom. "You don't have to shout, Mom." I nodded happily. "Are you hearing better?" asked the doctor. "I don't hear that noise anymore," I answered. "It's so quiet now in my ears." "The white noise is gone," said the doctor. He looked at me and winked. "I told you you'd like what you heard, August." He made more adjustments on the left hearing aid. "Does it sound different? A lot?" Mom asked. "Yeah," I nodded. "It sounds lighter." "That's because you have bionic hearing now," said the doctor, adjusting the right side. "Now touch here." He put my hand behind the hearing aid. "Do you feel that? That's the volume. You have to find the volume that works for you. We're going to do that next. Well, what do you think?" He picked up a small mirror and had me look in the big mirror to see how the hearing aids looked in the back. My hair covered most of the headband. The only part that peeked out was the tubing. "Are you okay with your new bionic Lobot hearing aids?" the doctor asked. "Yes," I said. "Thank you." "Yes, thank you so much, Dr. James," said Mom. The first day I showed up at school with the hearing aids, I thought kids would make a big deal about it, but no one said anything. Summer was glad I could hear better, and Jack said it made me look like an FBI agent or something. But that was it. Mr. Brown asked me about it in English class, but it wasn't like, "What is that thing on your head?" It was more like, "If you ever need me to repeat something, Augie, make sure you tell me, okay?" Now that I look back, I don't know why I was so stressed about it. Funny how sometimes you worry a lot about something and it turns out to be nothing. There's still a ton of Augie, so I'm gonna stop this video and then I will try to do some more and get it